What it is, what it do. I'm A1, this is Destiny, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can solo the bridge part of the Crota's in raid on hard mode with each of your characters. But before we get into the two different methods, I do want to quickly show y'all the setup I would recommend for each of the classes. So for this first one, it's going to be for the Warlock, and you can use any subclass. The main thing that I want to point out is that you want to try to increase agility as much as possible. And here's the setup I would use for the Titan. And next up, I'm going to show the setup that I would recommend for the Hunter. Now, I know there's probably a dozen different ways that you can solo this bridge part. I'm only going to be going over a couple of the ones that I find to be easiest. And I would recommend using this first method for all the Hunters. And I'll explain why in a bit. But for this first method, the first thing you want to do is stand on the sync plate. And after you stand on the sync plate, obviously all the enemies are going to spawn, but you're not going to have to worry about them or the sword bearer. Instead, what you're going to do is run over to this area where I am and make the same jumps that I do. Now, chances are you're probably not going to be able to complete all of the jumps successfully on your first try, but after you've reached the top at least once or twice, it becomes a lot easier to complete all of those jumps because you'll know exactly where to jump and how to jump and all of that good stuff. So it may take you a couple tries in order to master this technique, but after you've done it a couple times, it becomes a lot easier. And although this method can be used with each of the classes, I would only recommend using this method for your Hunter. You can use the Titan and Warlock for this method as well, but the other method I'm going to show is a lot easier for the Titan and the Warlock. Anyways, after you've reached the top, and I believe there's about 6 jumps that you'll have to make, but after you've reached the top, you're going to want to jump again as high as you can, and about 4 or 5 seconds after you've done that jump at the very top, all of the enemies on this side of the bridge, except for the sword bearer, will despawn and disappear. Alright, so after all of the enemies, except for the sword bearer, have despawned, you can go ahead and jump down and jump on the middle sync plate. Now, you don't have to have the bridge fully formed before you kill the sword bearer, but it is a lot easier to cross the bridge if the bridge is fully formed once you pick up the sword. Anyways, in order to get the bridge fully formed, you're going to have to stand on the sync plate, and as soon as it says Annihilator Totem, you want to wait at least 1 second and then immediately jump off. And as soon as you jump off the sync plate, you're going to wait about half a second and jump right back on it. Now, it's very important that you wait before jumping off the middle sync plate, because if you jump off as soon as it says Annihilator Totem, the bridge is never going to fully form. So you're going to have to wait at least 1 second before jumping off the sync plate. And you're going to have to wait at least half a second and jump right back on the middle sync plate. And after you've repeated this process about 2 or 3 times, the bridge should be fully formed. Now, if you had to kill the sword bearer before the bridge was fully formed, chances are you're not going to have enough time to kill the gatekeeper, because you're going to be spending a lot of the time trying to get the bridge fully formed. But the good thing about that is you don't have to kill the gatekeeper in order to solo this bridge part. You also want to keep in mind that you are playing solo, so as soon as you cross the bridge, it's going to start deconstructing. And I say once you reach halfway, you want to go ahead and jump and then use your melee with the sword to fly across the remaining part of the bridge. Now, after you've crossed the bridge, you can either take out the gatekeeper or just go ahead and run to the right side. It's sort of up to you and how much time left you have with the sword. If you were able to cross the bridge very quickly after killing the sword bearer, then you can go ahead and take out the gatekeeper. But if it takes you a while to get the bridge fully formed after picking up the sword, like it does for me in this playthrough, then chances are the sword is going to end up disappearing as soon as you cross the bridge. But it doesn't really matter if you take out the gatekeeper or not, because you can still solo this part whether you kill the gatekeeper or not. And I'm going to show y'all what to do after you cross the bridge after I show y'all this next method for crossing the bridge. Anyways, if you're on a Titan or a Warlock, I would recommend using this next method, which is to jump on the middle sync plate so you can spawn all of the enemies and the sword bearer, and then just jump on one of the pillars so you don't have to worry about the thralls, and just focus all of your attention on the sword bearer and try to kill him as quick as possible. Anyways, after you kill the sword bearer, you want to pick up the sword immediately and jump on top of the pillar that I do. And as soon as you're on top of the pillar, you want to double tap the jump button, and as soon as you reach the highest point of your jump, you want to start using your melee button with the sword, but you don't want to use it towards the end of the bridge. You want to try to reach the middle of the bridge. And once you get to the area where the middle of the bridge is, you want to start using your melee towards the end of the bridge. I've tried to melee directly towards the end of the bridge without stopping at the middle of the bridge, and I ended up dying every time. So if you're on the Warlock or Titan and you try to use this method, you want to aim at the middle of the bridge, and as soon as you get there, you want to start aiming towards the end of the bridge. Now, if you use this method, you should have plenty of time to kill the gatekeeper. And like I mentioned, I would only recommend using this method for the Titan or Warlock. I would not recommend using this for the Hunter. Anyways, after you've crossed the bridge, you want to go over to the right side where I go and take out as many trash mob enemies as you can. You don't have to worry about the wizards. You don't have to worry about the knights. Now, if a knight does come over to the right side, then you may want to take him out, but chances are they'll end up staying on the left side and you won't have to worry about them at all. Now, you can go towards the back on the right side where the ogres spawn, but I would not recommend staying back there for long, because there was a couple times where I would get Annihilator Totem when I stayed back there too long. So you can go back there towards the back right where the ogre spawn, but you don't want to stay back there too long. And to be honest, you don't even need to go back there. If you stay to the far right side, there's a bunch of pillars over there you can hide behind, synthesize if you need to, or if the wizard starts shooting at you, you can just hide behind those pillars on the right side. Anyways, after you've killed enough of the trash mob enemies, you'll also have some trash mob enemies spawn from that back right area where the ogre spawns. So you're going to have to take them out as well. And after you've taken out enough of the trash mob enemies, the ogres will then spawn. And as soon as they spawn, you want to try to take out the one that's in that back right area next to you. You want to take him out as quick as possible. And again, you don't want to stay back there in that back area too long. If you can kill him from where I kill him from, that would be best, because you shouldn't get Annihilator Totem if you kill the ogre from where I kill him from, and if you kill the ogre as fast as I kill the ogre. And I end up using the Gallahorn to kill the ogres, but any decent rocket launcher should take him out, like the Hunger of Crota or Dragon's Breath or even a Truth rocket launcher. And again, you want to try to take out the first ogre as quickly as possible, because if you don't, you'll end up getting Annihilator Totem. And I don't believe there's a timer for the second ogre, so after you've killed the first one, you can just take your time when trying to kill the second ogre. And again, you don't have to worry about the wizards or the knights. If they start shooting at you, you can just hide behind a pillar and just take out the ogre from there. And like I mentioned, there's probably a dozen different ways you can solo this bridge part, but these two methods are some of the easiest methods that I know of. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video or found it useful, don't forget to do what you do. I'm A1. Thanks for watching.